الرحمن الرحيم. الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله الكريم. أنا اسمي شيخ أبو عايش السيدي، أنا من السودان، عميد عمادة البحث العلمي في جامعة الخرطوم. وجينا إلى المؤتمر الثالث للدماغ في أفريقيا وشرق المتوسط، ومرة أخرى هذا الاجتماع زاد عدد الدول المشاركة لأكثر من 70 دولة من العالم، معظمها تأتي من بلاد أفريقيا ودول الشرق. المرة دي في ناس يأتون من أمريكا ويأتون من الصين ويأتون من دول عديدة، ونتشرف بأننا سنتداول على آخر ما توصلت إليه الأبحاث العلمية في علاج أمراض الدماغ. ونتمنى من الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يوفقنا أن نخرج بشيء يفيد الناس ويساعدهم على العلاج وعلى التشخيص. ومعنا إخوة كرام أتوا من المملكة المتحدة وأتوا من الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية. الأخ بروفيسور عبد الله شيهو يأتي من كوفنتري في المملكة المتحدة، هو يتكلم بالإنجليزي، وأيضا دكتور كارلو برونا برانا. Am I right? Baronia, like lasagna. He will also tell you about their impression first time coming to this conference. Abdullah, this is the second time he's coming. هذه المرة الثانية لبروفيسور عبد الله شيهو. يتفضل بروفيسور عبد الله شيهو. Coming on the conference, and how many countries are coming?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wa salatu wa salam ala nabiyyil kareem. Alhamdulillah, this is a very interesting conference, no doubt about it. It's international with delegates from over 50 to 70 countries. Some are linking online, interactive, and a lot of topics have been discussed that are not just tops of the subject scientific, but also pertinent and important for Africa and other developing nations as well. So the ethos is to make sure that we try to bridge the gap between the East and the West and the North and the South, so that there is global health all around. And this conference is working towards that. Alhamdulillah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Carlo, you introduce yourself and say something.
Carlo Bragna, neurologist from the U.S., living presently here in Morocco. This is my first time attending the conference. I'm very impressed with the scope of the matter that was presented, and with the goal being how to bring some of the newer techniques and some of the newer facilities to the benefit of the people in Morocco and elsewhere in Africa. Thank you.
My name's Wajid Sia. I am a consultant clinical psychologist working in neuropsychology in the UK. It's a great privilege and an honor to be here in Rabat on the third Brain Week conference with colleagues across 70 countries in the world. It's been an exciting time to be thinking about the tough challenges in neuroscience and in rehabilitation, and an understanding not only the brain structures, mechanisms, and its impact, but the human journey and the story. And it's a great credit to people of Morocco and the government of Morocco for facilitating such an event.
هشام بازي، رئيس جمعية مرضى الطمور العضلي الشوكي بالمغرب. أنا هنا كنشارك في المؤتمر الدورة الثالثة من المؤتمر أسبوع الدماغ برين ويك، اللي هو واحد تظاهرة مميزة علمية، فيها بعد علمي وفيها بعد اجتماعي، وكتجمع واحد المشاركين تقريبا من أكثر من 70 دولة من العالم. اللي كيميز هذا المؤتمر وكيعطيه واحد الطابع خاص هو أنه كيجمع علماء وخبراء، كيجمع الخبرات الطبية مع الخبرات ديال جمعيات المرضى. المريض ما كيبقاش فقط، يعني المؤتمر مبني على واحد الفلسفة وواحد المقاربة اللي كتعتبر أن المريض كمساهم ومشارك فعال وإيجابي في داك البروسيسوس ديال العلاج. يعني المريض ما كيبقاش هو مجرد واحد متلقي اللي كيتسنى الطبيب، ولكن تيولي حتى هو مبادر، كيكون مكون ومثقف طبيا وعلميا، عنده ادوات باش يبحث، عنده ادوات باش يتواصل مع الطبيب ويقترح عليه ويشارك في هذاك البروسيسوس ديال العلاج كامل.
So my name is Josiane Umuringa. I am the author of Survive to Forgive. It's about the history of Rwanda genocide against Tutsi, 1994. Today I participated in Brain Week here in Marrakesh because we are making known the PTSD, post-traumatic syndrome disease, about the survivors of the genocide and about the survivors of any traumatic experience. Thank you very much.
This is what we need to begin to think about. So basically, this is a lot of the assessments, particularly where you don't have neuroimaging techniques. I think there is a huge development, a need to develop these. This is not part of this conversation. We'll be doing a presentation on the work that we're doing with one of the universities in Scotland, looking at cross-cultural assessments. But really, we need to be thinking more about looking at the function and then looking at the impact for the person. Neuropsychological assessments outperform neuroimaging. And it's really important to understand that. The only time that neuropsychological assessments don't outperform neuroimaging is in aphasias, where they are comparable, 1-to-1. Assessment questions, really, I think, know the history, know the person, speak to the primary caregiver. You want to know the patient. And really the objective is to get a baseline, pre-morbid and current. Because if you don't know where the patient's at and where they were, a lot of the judgments can be conflated. And Professor O'Shea articulated that extremely eloquently in terms of looking at differential diagnosis. It gives you a baseline to think, understand, and recognize the patient's symptomology. In terms of neuropsychological stroke intervention approaches, on the right is the current approaches. A lot of them are assessment heavy. They focus on mood, which is great. They focus on cognitive functioning, largely looking at assessment again. And we've developed particular techniques, particularly with patients with neurodegenerative disorder, where we use motor action. About 20 years ago, we got a patient with acute memory deficit to identify a color, like what was their favorite color. So color and emotion were interfused and then combined with an action. So they could remember from the color, they could encode, retrieve, and generate a response. All we're doing is taking a different route, a bit like getting here, because I think we went to another building, but it doesn't mean that we don't come to the conference. It just means we take a different route. The brain loves to take a different route. We need to understand the language of the brain. Sorry, coming back to... So this is a behavioral adaptation. And again, a lot of the work that's being done is by other disciplines, physiotherapists, other rehabilitation centers, and excellent, exceptional work that's been done there. But there's no real integration. In terms of the R model, we identify 6 stages, and I'm going to take you through each of those stages. The first stage of, like any accident, a crisis, financial, emotional, a car, road accident. The first stage is you need to adjust. You must adapt. And we've employed a triphasic model. It's a trauma-specific model which is looking at the three stages. First of all, we need to establish safety, predictability, and routine. Why is that important? If you do not stabilize the patient, you can't get therapeutic outcome. A patient may have delirium, disorganized, not be able to make sense of their physicality. The second aspect is integrating cognitive, making sense of it, rationalizing what's happening. And third is processing the event. What does that mean? And it's important for patients to be depressed if that is needed. But depression itself is a symptom, not a disease. but it's about how to enable patients to stabilize, to make sense of the situation, and then integrate that.
If you see such a thing, always question, specifying lesion will not come like this. Weakness, yes. Numbness and weakness, whatever, it builds up on hours or even days to develop. But stroke, and I always say to my students, something which comes like this is three: vascular, electrical, or trauma. Nothing number 4. Can anyone say anything more than this? Vascular, electrical, like epilepsy. Trauma, somebody driving a motorbike, having an accident, suddenly he will get weakness, or paraplegia or quadriplegia, suddenly. All other conditions take time. Maybe hours, maybe days, maybe years, maybe decades. And that's not vascular. And by definition, it is not stroke. Anything that does not fall in this, then that is stroke, mimical. Okay? So, the clues are onset and progression, anatomical inconsistency, recurrence without sequelae, funny speech, positive rather than negative features, lack of risk factor, evidence of psychiatric or cognitive problems. And patients with this funny thing, usually they have, if you talk to them, they have done this. So I always say it is experience. It is training people to recognize easy. Okay? So this is why we are doing this session. Okay? Entertaining in there. So sometimes the real stroke itself might come in a different way. And I will just say it and then run the slides. I have a big collection of cases, but I won't bother you with many. I'll just show you 2 of them. So I saw a gentleman, VIP person. He came to A&E and he thought that he has developed episodes of not responding to his wife. He has depression long-standing on treatment, and he came visiting to the place where I used to work. His wife thought that is part of his depression because he's remembering his brother. And they brought him to A&E. I happened to be around, and then the resident asked me, "Can you see this gentleman?" I said, "Who are you?" He said, "I work for the whatever, in Vienna, whatever." And I examined him, no much of not here, but his wife told me, when he loses consciousness, she talks to him, he just stares in the vague.
And they do meet these challenges because there is this access, limited access to healthcare, especially in rural and underserved areas, and that's mostly in the Global South countries. There is this health literacy that also contribute in preventing early detection and lifestyle interventions. There is also socioeconomic disparities. As we all know, the Global South countries, the MENA included, have these challenges more related to economics, and this contributes high to the knowledge that the people can access. They also lack the presentation in research institutions, pharmaceuticals, you name it. When you look at the global level, there is beautiful and nice discoveries related to treatment of LCDs, but of course these are shared firstly in the global, and the global South is remembered only when the global North is all satisfied. In organization, the Global South connects. We do not believe that healthcare, or we do believe that healthcare is not only a necessity, but this is a human right. And that's why we stand there, fight day and night to make sure that everybody in the Global South have this fair treatment.
From his last presentation. he spoke about the stress disorders and PTSD. I brought that to fund a resolution in Rwanda. So this is an evidence of a woman who survived the atrocities of the genocide. There remain 4 in the family. And you can see her sister there. She has got a PTSD linked with epilepsy. And who managed to save that lovely girl is Dr. Abdul. We need to applaud his good job, because by assessing the lady, most of the PTSD, when the hormone of the woman change above 40, you start now to develop other symptoms. Like now, we found that after 40 years, in the COVID time, she started to develop the closed seizures. But the referral she has got was a wrong referral. They did treating a wrong symptom. And because they did giving her a wrong prescription, that escalated to a psychotic behavior. But today we can see the lady, she's turned right, she's good, because the adjustment of the drug done by Dr. Abdul from Warwick University. Thank you for that. And we have also to fund a resolution among patients who have PTSD. In Rwanda, after the genocide, we can count 800,000 people who be killed, but how many survived? There are more than that. The prevalence which the picture is above even 60%, is even 4 plus, we can say. And we still face a genocide, trauma disorders, even genetically to the child come on earth through these women. Most of the women with the PTSD disorders, you can see the anxieties they develop affect the child in the womb. But we never do together the studies how those children can cope with other disabilities like ADHD, etc.
PTSD, the like of PTSD you described in Rwanda, there's individual PTSD, there's a community PTSD. And that community PTSD is not being addressed at all. The whole society is traumatized because there's no victor in the conflict. Everybody has been harmed, and everybody has got some anger, and that, together with personal trauma they've been experiencing, will vent on somebody else. So if there is a need to heal, that healing has to be collective first. And when they realize that has been addressed, then they can look at individuals and see each other as equal and each other as victim. And I don't believe the percentages quoted are correct. These are only those who have presented. It doesn't reflect those who have been silent about it, or those who do not even have the strength to speak up or to present. So there's a bigger picture. So if we want to address the community, you need to start with the leadership, and the leadership allows some kind of communication process where the healing can take place at that level. And the elders of the society, and I'm not talking of religious leaders who may probably be making money in the subject, and those tribal harmonists and things like that.
Understanding resilience. Day and night exist together. It depends if we need to understand how to switch on the light. And that's really important. And Chantal, I've known you for a while now, and what a pleasure. And it astounds me how insightful you are at the most cutting edge of science. You talk about epigenetics, which is trauma. It's not an individual event, but it is a sequence that affects the person, the family, and the community. And I think Professor Abdul and Professor O'Shea, I think they are two incredible minds, but I think we need to remain focused on some of the core elements here, which is one, understanding trauma signature for each individual and the collective signature. There's a trauma and genocide going right now in Gaza, for example. And it's interesting and harrowing to see in the face of that collective genocide and obliteration of a race and of reality and facts, where people then collectively decide to come back. We must understand what makes people survive. Human beings are resilient. We are a paradox of existence, we are unconquerable but fragile. So in moments we need to be held, and when we are held in those crucial moments, we become unconquerable. And it's that interface that we need to understand. And I think between you represent that, both being able to survive and flourish and think critically, clinically. In terms of final point, in terms of using technologies, it's a bit of a paradox. There's a two-way process. In some ways, even rural societies, people have access to phones, people have access to technologies, and we need to understand that in real time to develop these signatures. But I commend you both for your work and for your courage and for your resilience. Thank you so much.
A été présenté lors de la présentation du professeur Arabi. Donc le handicap est une réalité complexe qui peut être abordée selon plusieurs perspectives et plusieurs approches. Il y a tout d'abord l'approche individuelle qui est centrée sur l'individu et ses capacités, considère le handicap comme une limitation personnelle, souvent perçue comme une fatalité qui relève de la responsabilité individuelle du patient et de sa famille. Il y a également l'approche biomédicale qui repose sur le diagnostic et la réhabilitation du patient. Cependant, cette approche n'est pas suffisante seule, car elle ne permet pas une intégration sociale complète des personnes en situation de handicap. C'est là que l'approche sociale intervient. Donc l'approche sociale considère que le handicap est en grande partie créé par la société elle-même à travers les barrières physiques, culturelles et institutionnelles qu'elle impose. C'est cette approche qui est aujourd'hui encouragée par les organisations internationales et les défenseurs des droits des personnes handicapées. Il y a également l'approche des droits humains qui met l'accent sur le handicap comme une question de droit où l'État et la société doivent garantir l'inclusion et l'égalité et les opportunités pour tous.
مقنن مثلا احنا هي العبارات اللي كتعتبر مسيئة لهاد الناس ديال اللي في وضعية الإعاقة، واش هما الحركات أو التجاوزات اللي كتوقع، لأن كنشوفوها يوميا وكنعيشوها يوميا، لا من ناحية النظرة ديال المجتمع ولا من ناحية التعامل ديال السلطات أو الحكومة مع خصوص هذه المسألة. لهذا فأنا كنصوت الاستراتيجية أن مازال خاصنا الخدمة ومازال خاصنا التضامن باش هادشي تحسن وباش نشوفوا هاد الناس يعيشوا في يعني سهلوا لهم الحياة. الدليل على ذلك أننا ما كنفكروش فيهم بزاف هو الولوجيات اللي باقي حتى الساعة باقي ما كاينينش. يعني بحال مثلا هنايا لاصال الحمد لله مزيانه وداكشي، ولكن للاسف ما عندناش ولوجيات. مثلا السي هشام نزلناه من هنا تحقق خصو يكون يجي بوحدو ما يحتاجش اللي يساعدو، عنده كراسة خاصو يجي بوحدو، خاصو تكون الولوجيات يجي ويبريزونتي بسهولة، وكاع الناس اللي عندهم حاجة للمساعدة يتم نعطيه واحد القوة، واحد شدو يديه ونعطيه واحد القوة باش ما يحتاجش مساعدة الآخر. ونتمنى إن شاء الله تعالى هذا الموضوع هذا الصوت يبدا إن شاء الله. السلام عليكم.
شكرا سيد أنا بدي المحاضرة. So we continue also in English. So just translating what said Mr. Aishtaru. So he has Parkinson's disease and he's back there. I think he is sometimes working harder than us, like between the brackets normal people. So I think he's giving us a lot of energy. When you are seeing those people working very hard, sometimes till midnight, 1 a.m. I'm working on internet, that time Mr. Al-Taymi is responding to our WhatsApp messages. And then Mr. Hisham. So Mr. Al-Taymi said that the handicap, SMA is sort of handicap, Parkinson also is partial handicap, and he is also talking about all what governments, not only in Morocco, but all, in all those countries attending. We have more than 70 countries attending between these 5 days. And I think in the end of the conference, we should sort out one conclusion or recommendations for governments in all countries, because we have lots of ambassadors. I think that could be sort of a chart, une charte. WHO, au nom de l'Alliance des Saints. L'Organisation mondiale de la santé, on pourra aussi la saisir, parce que quand même c'est assez de spécialistes. Et là, il y a des talks also about accessibility. For example, in this room, Mr. Hisham, he could not come, so just help him to go to the...
We call it Rabab Call for Support of Patients with Neurological Disorders. Rabab Call, international call.
Yes,
we call it Rabab Call, international call for support of patients. And we all make the charter.
We can sign everyone together, everyone will sign, and we will call it Mr. Mushensini has the right word.
Rabab Call.
Yeah, thank you. So you will be brief, stay
If he's the